Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Speak Fluent English podcast. I'm Sarah, your co-host, and today we're diving into one of the most common goals for English learners, achieving fluency. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Jake.
Hey, Sarah. Hey, listeners. Fluency is such a popular topic, and it's easy to see why. Speaking fluent English can open up so many opportunities, from better jobs to making friends around the world.
Absolutely, Jake. But fluency often feels like this big, overwhelming goal. Many learners ask, how can I actually become fluent? So today, we're going to break it down into practical, achievable steps.
That's right. And to start, I think we need to define what fluency actually means. Sarah, what does fluency mean to you?
Good question, Jake. To me, fluency is about being able to communicate your ideas smoothly and naturally, without too much hesitation or stopping to think about grammar or vocabulary. It's not about being perfect, but about being confident and clear. What about you?
I agree. Fluency is more about communication than perfection. It's the ability to have a conversation where both sides understand each other, even if you make a few mistakes.
Exactly. So, with that definition in mind, let's talk about the first step to becoming fluent: consistent practice. Jake, what are your thoughts on this?
Consistent practice is the foundation of fluency. You can't just study for a few weeks and expect to be fluent. You need to make English a part of your daily life. Even 15 to 20 minutes a day can make a huge difference.
That's such a good point. And for learners who are short on time, there are plenty of ways to practice even during a busy day. For example, you can listen to an English podcast while commuting or think about your to-do list in English.
Exactly. It's all about finding small ways to immerse yourself in the language. And speaking of immersion, another key step to fluency is surrounding yourself with English as much as possible.
Yes. Immersion doesn't necessarily mean moving to an English-speaking country. It can be as simple as changing your phone's language settings to English, watching TV shows in English, or reading English books and articles.
Definitely. And here's an important tip. Don't just passively consume English. Engage with it. For example, if you watch a TV show, try repeating some of the phrases the characters say.
I love that idea. Shadowing, or mimicking native speakers, is such an effective way to improve your pronunciation and intonation.
Absolutely. And speaking of pronunciation, let's talk about speaking practice. Many learners are afraid to speak because they're worried about making mistakes. How can they overcome that fear?
That's a big one, Jake. My advice is simple. Start small and practice often. Begin by speaking to yourself. For example, describe your day in English or talk about your plans for tomorrow. Once you're comfortable, move on to speaking with others, maybe a language partner or a tutor.
That's great advice, Sarah. I'd also add that it's important to focus on communication, not perfection. Mistakes are a natural part of learning, and most people won't judge you for them.
So true. And let's not forget about vocabulary. Building a strong vocabulary is essential for fluency. Jake, do you have any tips for expanding vocabulary?
Absolutely. I recommend learning words in context. Instead of memorizing long lists of words, try to learn phrases or, Jake, absolutely sentences. For example, instead of just learning the word happy, learn phrases like, I'm happy to see you, or, she looks so happy today.
That's a great tip. And learners should also focus on high-frequency words, the words and phrases they're most likely to use in everyday conversations.
Right. And once you've learned new vocabulary, make sure to use it. Practice using new words in sentences or conversations. The more you use a word, the more likely you are to remember it.
Exactly. And here's another tip for fluency. Think in English. When you think in your native language and then translate, it slows you down. Try to form your thoughts directly in English.
That's such an important skill, Sarah. And it doesn't happen overnight, but with practice, it becomes more natural. For example, when you see something like a cup of coffee, think to yourself, "This is a cup of coffee," instead of translating it from your native language.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the role of listening. Listening is so important because it helps you understand how native speakers use the language.
Exactly. And to improve your listening skills, try to expose yourself to different accents and speaking styles. For example, listen to podcasts, watch movies, or even follow English-speaking YouTubers.
Yes, and don't be afraid to pause and repeat what you hear. Repeating helps you get used to the rhythm and flow of the language.
Great point. Now, before we wrap up, let's summarize the key steps to speaking fluent English.
Sure. First, practice consistently and make English a part of your daily life.
Second, immerse yourself in the language by surrounding yourself with English content and engaging with it actively.
Third, focus on speaking and don't let the fear of mistakes hold you back.
Fourth, build your vocabulary and learn words in context.
Fifth, practice thinking in English to make your thoughts flow more naturally.
And finally, work on your listening skills to understand how English is used in real-life situations.
That's a solid plan for anyone aiming for fluency. And remember, fluency is a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself and celebrate your progress along the way.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for today's episode of the Speak Fluent English podcast. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends.
And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, let us know. Until next time, keep practicing and keep speaking. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.